you don't get the descriptions that Caesar gives you of, I've come into this area, this is the problem, this is the enemy, I'm dealing with this tribe, what do I attack? Do I attack their main settlement? Do they have a field army? Do I fight a battle? Is this a war of raiding, of devastating the crops, being unpleasant to them and persuading them to quit? You don't get the descriptions of how you form the army up in battle, of what the commander is doing in battle, because it isn't that type of war. It is essentially about sieges, and there is some overlap between what Caesar says and Josephus says. But other than that, you have battle accounts in Tacitus, bits in Dio, but they're never as detailed. These are sections within much broader histories, covering far wider periods and simply don't go into the detail. So it means that, in a rather odd way, Caesar's description of the army he commanded and, in the civil war, the other Roman opponents he faces, is used and is extended for us to explain how the later imperial army worked. So there's always a danger with Caesar that we're actually projecting him forward, and to some extent, because he talks in a level of detail that is unmatched even by earlier accounts, we project him back as well and assume that, well, this is what the Roman army's always been doing. So you have different types of evidence, for instance, for the army of the Principate. You've got far more sculptural evidence, obviously famously things like Trajan's Column, Column of Marcus Aurelius. We know from Trajan's Column that it was based upon the emperor's commentary, but only one line of those is preserved. So you look at all these different scenes on it, and there are lots of them that are clearly telling a story. But it's a bit like looking at the Bayer Tapestry without any of the Heraldus Rex Interfectus Est, that sort of stuff, or any idea of what was going on in 1066, and trying to work out just what's happening. Classic case being late in between the First War and the Second War, there's a scene of a parade, a distribution of awards, and this is the moment where I realize actually I should have used pictures this week instead of thinking it was only text. It wouldn't work. However, there's a scene of a Roman military ceremony marking victory. Next to it is a scene of some women torturing naked prisoners. Now, what the heck is that about? Is this, you can interpret it any way you want. You could say this is the widows of the Roman province taking their vengeance on Dacian captives. Or it could be, because this is at the end of War I, before we have Second Dacian War of the Emperor Trajan, that maybe this is saying, well, the Dacians haven't conformed to the treaty, they haven't returned some of our prisoners, and they're doing terrible things to them whilst all this is going on.